This is the world of powers, wherein the power of each nation is used to be balanced. No land is above others, and for millions of years, the whole world has maintained peace and harmony because of these ideals. But not until some greedy nation started to seek more powers to bring themselves to the top and be hailed as the world's superpowers.
Is that magic?
Well, that was a fictional world. But in real life, the term world superpowers doesn't refer to magic or any supernatural capabilities. But sure, in the real world, being a world superpower nation means you are a powerful country that has the capability to dominate, influence, or even destroy. What is a world superpower, by the way? Well, superpowers are those nations that you can find at the top of almost everything that pertains to military, influence, economy, technology, population, and cultural strength. In other words, they are the most dominant nations that can bring war or peace to the world. By those definitions you just heard, for sure, you already think of a country that is suitable to be called a superpower. And yes, that is the United States. Like I said, a superpower is a state or supranational union that holds a dominant position characterized by the ability to exert influence or project power on a global scale. And such capabilities have been demonstrated by the US for many, many years. But wait, does it mean that there is only one world superpower? Well, the United States is considered the extant superpower, which means they already became a superpower a very long time ago, and they still exist as a superpower even today. But there are another 4 countries that are being called the potential superpowers. They are China, the European Union, India, and Russia. Japan has the potential too because of their global influence when it comes to technology and economy. But because they don't focus their power on the military, they fail to be one. Anyway, I don't think Japan intends to be a superpower, as they chose to live peacefully after World War II. If we're going to talk about the first world superpower in human history, then that would be Iran. But not the modern Iran we see today, because it was the ancient Iran that was called the Persian Empire. We know that even during ancient times, fighting for territories had already been happening in the world, and power was the #1 reason why the Persian Empire was the dominant empire a long time ago. About 2,300 years ago, the Persian Empire covered over 2 million square miles and held nearly half the world's population. Although Alexander the Great may have disagreed, this was the world's first great empire. In the last 2 centuries, archaeologists, linguists, and historians have been able to find, read, and interpret new Persian sources. And according to them, Persia was really a powerful empire. I will not discuss the whole history of the Persian Empire because it is a really long history, but I will give you an idea of how powerful they were. Well, they just conquered many powerful empires, such as the Medes, Lydians, Neo-Babylonians, and eventually the Egyptians. So there's no denying that the first world superpower was the Persian Empire or ancient Iran. Anyway, today the United States is the world's superpower. But how did the US become a superpower? Well, during World War II, there were 3 strong groups of nations that were considered global powers or world superpowers. These 3 were the United States, the British Empire, and the Soviet Union. As you notice, these 3 are the big players in World War II. Thus, they were called the world superpowers because they are the reason why there was a global war going on. But right after World War II, there was a Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, resulting in the British Empire dissolving. But why did the British Empire get destroyed over the tension between the other 2 superpowers? Well, it was a long story, but let's just say that after the 2 big wars, the British Empire weakened and could not keep its power as one of the world's superpowers. So in other words, it left us with only 2 superpowers, but not so long until the Soviet Union followed the faith of the British Empire, because after the Cold War in 1991, the Soviet Union got dissolved as well, leaving the United States as the one and only world superpower. Since 1991, the United States has reigned as the only world superpower, and since then, the ability of the US to influence has become even greater. But what's the big deal about it? Can a superpower destroy a country if they are really that powerful? I mean, I'm talking about destroying a country in a literal sense, like annihilation. Well, technically they can, but of course they won't. After all, it was so terrifying to raise a global war in this present era, since not only the United States is capable of annihilating a country, but all countries that have nuclear weapons also have the capabilities to do so. The war that might happen will be different from World War I and World War II. Possibly because of the nuclear weapons we have today, the war might just finish as quickly as possible. I mean, we are talking about nuclear weapons here. Anyway, speaking of nuclear weapons, those other countries that have that kind of weapon are now considered potential superpowers, meaning they are the potential global power that could rival the power of today's United States. And we are talking to China, the European Union, India, and Russia. Apparently, if we're going to read the definition of a world superpower, they are the closest to that description. Thus, they were called the potential superpower. But why is North Korea not on the list? As we know, the country is obviously focusing its military force on building nuclear weapons. Well, they might have a few requirements for being superpowers, but they lack many of them, like influence, wealth, population, and technology. Let's talk about the top 3 reasons why one country could be considered the world's superpower, which are wealth, influence, and military power. Well, the United States is not the richest country right now. That would be Luxembourg, which has the highest GDP per capita. And those other potential superpowers are not even among the top 10 richest in the world. But why though? Why did they become the superpower if they were not the richest? You see, being a superpower is not about being the wealthiest. It is all about how you use your wealth to dominate and influence the world. And this is exactly what the United States and other potential superpowers were doing. They are using their own economy to make connections throughout the world. The United States, for instance, is so influential because its currency is the world currency. So it means that the majority of the global trade that is happening in the world and involving the US dollar is also involving the US itself. Thus, they consistently gain influence because of that specific reason. They might not be the richest, but they are the strongest when it comes to the global economy. Same with China and other potential superpowers. China has been the largest exporter of goods in the world since 2009. And China is not only the world's largest provider of goods, they also trade various products that we use in our everyday lives. And for sure, wherever you go, you can always see a product that is made in China. Because of that, China gained massive influence and connections with all countries around the world. Anyway, I think I already made my point here. For a country to become a world superpower, it should also become the most influential nation. But the last key and most important requirement to be a superpower is the military. Since ancient times, whoever has the strongest military will always conquer others. And during the great wars in the past, it was proven that the countries that has a massive military on its hands will be the victor. And that was the main reason why the United States became the world superpower. Well, there are other countries that can rival the military power of the US. China, Russia, India, the European Union, and other countries like North Korea are now capable of leveling the war with the US. That is why, in today's era, having another world war will surely bring this planet Earth to an end because of the advanced military equipment we have today. However, these world superpowers are well aware of that, which is why, even though they have the capabilities, they cannot afford to go to war against other superpowers because of that fact. Anyway, as long as the world superpower willingly works to maintain world peace, perhaps the world will not see another great war. And I guess that is what everybody is hoping for.